Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On today's video, I am using some free to me wood and items that you can find in your stash and some JRV Decoupage and the new size of medium rice paper. I'm also using a little DIY paint and one little IOD transfer to update this trash and make it treasure. If you want to see what I come up with, stick around. As you know, I have a booth at Angry Mama's Antiques and Interiors in Cumming, Georgia, and John, one of the owners, brought me 5 of these and said, would you be interested in them? He has no idea what they were used for. I feel like they were cabinet doors before they became cabinet doors. But I said, you know what? I can find a use for them. And then came the gorgeous new medium-sized papers. These are rice papers from JRV. So what I'm going to do is use DIY's liquid patina, and I'm using the feather brush. All of the DIY, JRV, and IOD products are over on my website at createyourOwnCozy.com. Just need to throw that in there. I appreciate any support, but what I'm doing here, rice paper is a lot thicker, and you don't have to be as careful as you would with the decoupage paper. And then using the IOD Brayer to even out the paper. Now, this paper does have a lot more heft than a decoupage paper, and you can see I'm kind of working around with it. It did suck up a lot of the liquid patina, so I'm doing another coat. In my next option, I am going to spritz the paper with water so it doesn't soak up as much of the product. But there is a lot of give, and I am just working out the wrinkles here with the brayer. After I am happy with it, I let this dry completely. I probably did 48 hours just because that's how long it took me to get back to it. And I did come probably about 24 hours and grab the corners again just to make sure that they were down in all the corners. Now, after I get it where I want, I am going to go over the whole top of it with liquid patina. Really make sure it is covered and it's basically acting like a glue with the paper. So when it dries completely, it will look like a gorgeous, gorgeous picture on the plaque. Now, I decided I didn't need to paint white underneath because this paper is very vibrant with like a white coat on the back. Also, I decided not to paint the wood at all on the sides because I liked the tone of the wood and thought it would be good to frame out these pictures. Now, the first picture that I worked on is called Picking Flowers, and then the second one I'm going to do is Poppies on the Beach, which is the same paper I used in Piper's vintage inspired bedroom makeover. If you guys didn't check that one out, I have that posted from last Friday where we use this paper with a gold frame. But as you can see in the video, I did kind of spritz the back of this one, and it didn't use as much of the product, but there wasn't as much time to be able to move the paper around on the project. So just work how is easiest for you. After it is dried completely, I did use a sanding block away from the paper to just kind of have nice crisp edges to frame it out. If you do towards the paper, there's always a risk it could pull up from the project, so you want to sand away from the paper. But this was a nice, easy way to display this gorgeous new paper. I'm going to use these in my booth to show people what they can do with it and remind them that they can purchase it. So John also gave me a smaller version, and I thought, why not? They look like little cabinet doors, but were never used for that. Now, I didn't know what I wanted the whole project to look like, so I went over the whole thing with white Swan. Hindsight, I could have just done the center with the white Swan, but we are rolling with it. I painted the whole thing one coat of white Swan, and I am going to be using decoupage paper in this. Now, the rice paper has almost like a white background that helps it be more vibrant. The decoupage paper can get more translucent. So in order for the decoupage paper that I use to have beautiful, vibrant colors, I definitely want to decoupage it over a white surface. So I am going to, now that I've decided what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Gypsy Green on just the frame portion of this project. Now, my friend Jen, after I did last week's video where I told you guys that I showed Piper how to cut in without using painter's tape. And I told Jen the next time I was painting a wall, I would show you. But this is pretty much the same principle. I have a pointed paintbrush, and I am going very careful along the edge with a bead of paint. You don't want too much paint. If there is too much paint, you see I'll just paint below it. I just use this bead of paint and carefully drag it along the line. It takes patience and practice, but it is possible. And for me, I would rather be slow with this process than use painter's tape because I'm not very good with that. So that's my little painting tip for if you want to cut in. A slanted brush is always a good idea when you are trying to cut in. The JRV rice paper that I'm using today is called Pétales, and I've never used this one yet. And it has this beautiful purple blues and a little tiny bit of a rose pink. The creamy background, the greens were just gorgeous, and I thought went perfect. Or actually, the paper is what decided I was going to use Gypsy Green. So I still have half of the paper left, and I'm putting it inside here and trying to cut it to size to the best of my ability. I'm creasing it with my fingers. I'm cutting outside of the crease because I do not want to get it done and realize that there's some white showing through. So I suggest you cut outside the crease, and then I ended up using an X-Acto knife after it was completely dry to make it straight and completely covered. Now you can see I just did the one coat of white. If you want perfection, you can make sure that that is, perfect, but it's basically allowing the paper to lay against the white so that the colors come true when it is finished. I am using DIY's liquid patina and really just making sure it's covered and then pulling the paper down, pulling out any of the wrinkles or air bubbles, and then letting it dry completely. After it was dry, I did use an X-Acto knife to make sure all the edges were cleared up. And then I didn't show this on camera, but I did use a wet wipe to wet distress it and allow some of the wood and some of the white to come back through. And I really enjoyed how this came out. The great thing about DIY paint is it can be reactivated with water. So I could do this distressing without having a bunch of sanding dust. But then it does need to be sealed, and liquid patina is also a sealer. We have Big Top, which is a little bit shinier, and liquid patina has more of a matte to it. So I'm going over all of the Gypsy Green to get this all sealed, and then thought it needs something else. So over here in this cute little jar, I happen to be collecting metal animals and thought, what if I put one of these little animals in the center of the flower? I found these 3 birds. I have some metal letters. Always collect these little things because you never know when you are going to need them. But then I found this little bumblebee. Now, the birds did not look quite right flying with the flower in the background, and there are 3 of them, so I want them to stay together. That has to be for a future project, but this reminded me that I had them. Now I'm thinking these little bees would look so cute sitting on here, but wanted to make them stand out a little bit, so I'm using my Antique Bronze Rub and Buff, my favorite sheen. Actually, it's the only one I've used from them, but I love it so much I haven't bought another one. Just hitting the high areas with the Rub and Buff so that it sticks out, and then I'm gluing it on with TIghtbond Quick and Thick and a little bit of hot glue so that it stays immediately so I can take pictures, you know what I mean? And I think that really adds something to this picture. What do you guys think? My oldest Piper did a video a while back on here where she showed you guys how to do book folding for this heart. And we used just a random book for the video because, you know, she was just trying it. And it has not sold in my booth, but I feel like the blue and Spy School might be the reason for that. So I thought, you know what, let's see if we can update this just a little bit so that her art, this beautiful heart that has been folded, stands out a little bit better. So I'm going over the book with white Swan so that the paper has a nice base to go over and you're not seeing the stuff come through. Now I am doing the edges and the inside lip so that when it is standing on display, you cannot still see the blue. So I am now using liquid patina, going over the whole book with liquid patina, and then doing one side at a time with the decoupage paper. I did measure it out and I left some on each side. And I'm just working in sections and then making sure that it will open and close with this paper decoupaged on. I want to make sure that the paper goes over the tops and the sides. So I did a little tear at the spine and now I am just decoupaging over the tops and the sides so that none of the blue comes through and it looks like the picture keeps continuing. And then I used a straight edge over the top of the spine once it was completely dry to get rid of that paper right here and made sure I still had it going over. So it was a finished look. Then I realized that the inside cover is that bright blue and I did not want that coming through. So I just used some random household glue and hid all evidence of the former bright colors. And I feel like Piper's work of art stands out much better. What do you guys think? For project number 4, I'm going to make over another one of those wooden plaques. This time I am just going straight green over the frame area and the white swan in the center. And then I'm going to grab some scrap paper from the JRV Maime Floral. Oh my goodness, this one is one that is constantly selling in my booth. It seems to be a very popular paper. I'm going to go in the center with white swan. Just use a nice flat brush to make some crisp edges right here. This is another way that you can cut in while you're painting in using a flat brush. And now I'm doing some wet distressing. There's not white under this one, so it's just having the brown come through, which I think goes really, really well with the lettering on this paper. Now, the star of this particular project has got to be this flower from the Collage des Fleurs transfer set from the last release. Look at this cream colored flower. I feel like it went so well just right in the center, using the transfer stick that comes with it and just rubbing it in until it breaks away from the top sheet. I do end up going over the transfer and the paint with liquid patina just so everything is sealed in, and I think this one is a beauty. We are on to our fifth and final project this week, and I found this out thrifting the other day and thought I wanted to update it. It was only $3, but a good base for a project. I painted the slats white, and now I am going to decoupage Monarch Chromatic, another popular decoupage paper from JRV, and I am going to go just over the whole thing and let the paper go over the slots with the intention of sanding each edge of the board once this has dried. So I am doing liquid patina over the top, having this whole thing completely dry before moving on with the sanding and cutting of paper. I use the sanding block for the easy to reach areas, the X-Acto knife to get down the center, and then needed to be able to sand in between. So I took off the sandpaper from the little sanding block and just kind of shimmied it on the inside to make sure it was a nice clean cut, and I really like how that looked. I only used half of the sheet on this project, and I'm going to look for something else to use it on in a future project. Do you guys like this one? So what did you guys think? Did you have a favorite? This paper is beautiful, and all of the paint, the DIY paint, like with Patina, JRV Ricepaper, and IOD Products are on my website at www.createyourowncozy.com. I hope that you got inspired to take some of the stuff in your stash that you've been meaning to get to and turn it into something beautiful. On Wednesday of this week, I did my very first whatnot sale, and I'm gonna say I might be a little hooked. I got 19 packages out the next day. I'm so excited to be able to spend time. I did live and I didn't die. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. So I am going to do it again tonight, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. My daughter Piper has been helping me out, and we are gonna auction off her little book that I did in today's video with the heart folding. So if you have not joined the Whatnot community, I'm gonna put a link in the description. You get $15 to spend if you use this link to sign up for the first time. And they send me, I think, a little bit of money once you make your first purchase. So it's free money to spend. I hope you check it out. Go check out my show, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I hope to see you there. If you are new here to this channel, I would love it if you would hit subscribe and have your little bell notification to all so you get updated every time I upload a new video. I always love it when you guys comment. I read every single one of them. It may not be right away, but I do get to them because it's very important to connect with you guys. You guys are the reason I'm here. I'm so thankful for you, and I will see you guys in the next video.